So hi, everybody. We'll get started with our presentation shortly. Please make sure that your audio is muted and feel free to use the chat function to ask any questions you have. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. And I'll pause to let our interpreters do that part.
Buenas tardes, comenzaremos en breve. Por favor, asegúrese de tener sus micrófonos apagados y recuerden que pueden hacer preguntas en la sección de chat. Se les avisa que esta junta será grabada.
大家好，呢一次會議即將開始，請確保你嘅電子設備已經靜音。如果會議過程中你有任何嘅疑問，歡迎隨時通過聊天功能進行提問。請注意呢一個會議會係被錄影嘅。
Thank you very much. So good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Harvey, and I'm the project manager for the Southeast Rail Station study. Before I go further, I wanted to offer an apology. This afternoon, we discovered that a technical issue was preventing some of the emails sent to our project email from being correctly forwarded to my inbox. This resulted in some of your comments and questions going unanswered. We were able to correct this, and I have responded to most of the messages this afternoon. Once again, I apologize if you felt like your feedback was not important. It very much is, and please let us know if there's more we can do to make this right.
我哋首先想同大家講聲抱歉。今日我哋發現咗一個技術上嘅錯誤，而導致我哋係冇收到一啲回饋嘅意見。咁而家呢個問題咧就已經改正咗㗎啦。
Antes de seguir, quiero ofrecer una disculpa. Esta tarde descubrimos un problema técnico que impidió que algunos de nuestros correos sobre el proyecto llegaran a mi correo correctamente, lo cual hizo que algunos de sus comentarios y preguntas no recibieron respuesta. Corregimos este problema y he respondido a la mayoría de las preguntas. De nuevo me disculpo si sintió que a su comentario no se le dio importancia. Sí se le da. Y no dude en hacernos saber si hay más que podemos hacer para corregir este problema.
Many thanks to Esteban and Connie, our interpreters. Our staff will be monitoring the chat and will pass any questions on to our speakers when we reach the question and answer portion of the meeting. Before we go into breakout rooms by different languages, let's spend the first few minutes all together. These first few slides will be presented in English, Spanish, and Cantonese.
我哋嘅工作人員即將關注呢個聊天室嘅內容嘅，並且會進入會議嘅問答部分之後咧，會將你提出嘅問題轉交俾我哋嘅發言人。咁喺進入每個語言劃分嘅聊天室之前咧，我哋會用幾分鐘嘅時間去了解一下我哋嘅內容。咁開始幾頁嘅圖片咧，會係以英文、西班牙文同埋廣東話呈現嘅。
Nuestro equipo estará atento a los mensajes en el chat y les pasará las preguntas a los oradores cuando lleguemos al momento destinado a preguntas. Antes de entrar a las salas de interpretación, vamos a pasar unos minutos aquí juntos. Las primeras diapositivas se presentarán en inglés, cantonés y español.
Thank you. Let's do a quick icebreaker to get started. Did you attend the last round of workshops? What are you most looking forward to in today's presentation? Please place your answers in the Zoom chat.
首先，我哋問大家幾個問題嘅。咁你有冇參加上一次嘅會議呢？咁你今日參加呢一個會議有咩感受？咁請喺你嗰個聊天室裏面咧輸入你嘅答案。
Haremos una breve actividad para comenzar. ¿Asistió usted a la última serie de talleres? ¿Qué es lo que más espera ver en esta presentación? Por favor, escriban sus respuestas en el chat.
While we wait for those, I'd like to share that our last round of workshops were very educational for me. I learned a lot from your comments and questions, and I'm most looking forward to hearing more of those today. Thank you for your comment, Charlie. And if you did miss the first set of workshops, they are posted in the recordings in English, Cantonese, and Spanish on our website if you'd like to catch up on any of the project background. Want to see some design options advanced. Like to know the plans for 22nd Street. More specifics about how transit will be prioritized, how neighbors' concerns are being considered. Looking forward to helping with discussions about locations. Thank you. The Bayview station. And a bike commuter to 22nd Street. Semi-retired, got it. Well, thank you all very much for your responses. We appreciate them.
OK，好多謝大家嘅回饋嘅，咁我哋嘅會議即將會開始。
Gracias a todos por sus respuestas.
Thank you. So now that the ice is broken, welcome to the Southeast Rail Station Study Outreach Workshop. We'd all rather be holding this meeting in person, but after the last year and a half of pandemic life, many of us have had to become used to meeting virtually. With that said, we'll do our best to make our time today useful and informative. I'm joined tonight by colleagues from Caltrain and SFCTA, as well as a great team of consultants, and very much appreciate them.
歡迎嚟到呢一個South East 火車站嘅研究外展服務研討會。我哋十分希望以面對面嘅形式去舉行呢一次研討會嘅，但係因為新冠疫情持續1年半以嚟，咁呢一次會議中有好多人呢已經習慣咗網上開會啦。咁雖然係咁，但係我哋都會竭盡全力，令到今日嘅會議呢會有更高嘅效率而進行嘅。
Bienvenidos al taller de participación pública del estudio de las estaciones ferroviarias del sureste. Es cierto que la mayoría preferiríamos tal vez reunirnos de forma presencial, pero luego de 1 año y medio de pandemia, muchos he tenido que acostumbrar a la virtualidad. Dicho esto, haremos todo lo posible para que este encuentro les resulte útil y provechoso.
This is the first meeting in our second round of public engagement. We held 2 meetings in early October to introduce everyone to the set of major improvements to the Caltrain corridor that have spurred this work to look at future station locations. Today, we'd like to dive deeper into those alternatives for a new or rebuilt station at or near 22nd Street, as well as a new Bayview station.
呢一次係第2輪嘅公眾參與活動中嘅第一次會議。我哋已經喺10月初咧就召開咗2場嘅會議㗎啦，咁向大家介紹咗 Caltrain 通道嘅一系列主要改進項目。咁呢啲項目促使我哋探討規劃未來嘅車站嘅位置。咁今日我哋會深入探討喺第22街附近興建或者係重建車站，以及興建新嘅 Bayview 站嘅替代方案。
Esta es la primera junta de la segunda serie de consulta pública. Llevamos a cabo 2 juntas a principios de octubre para presentarles a todos las grandes mejoras al corredor Caltrain que han impulsado este esfuerzo por estudiar posibles sitios para futuras estaciones. Hoy nos gustaría profundizar más en estas alternativas para una estación nueva o reconstruida por la calle 22 o en sus alrededores, al igual que una nueva estación en Bayview.
We'll soon be moving into language-specific breakout rooms for presentations and discussion in English, Cantonese, and Spanish.
我哋將會好快進入根據每個語言嘅討論室，咁就係以英文、廣東話同埋西班牙文嘅彙報同埋討論嘅。
Pronto nos dividiremos en salas particulares por idioma para presentaciones en inglés, cantonés y español.
If you would like interpretation in Spanish, please use the raise hand or chat feature in Zoom, or simply raise your hand if you are on camera now. If you dialed in, please press *9 to be placed into the Spanish breakout room. The Spanish breakout room will have the slide deck in Spanish.
如果你需要廣東話翻譯服務咧，咁請用 Zoom 嘅 Raise Hand 或者係聊天功能，或者係喺鏡頭前舉手啦。如果你有開鏡頭嘅話，咁廣東話嘅討論室咧就會有中文嘅簡介。
Si desea acceder al servicio de interpretación al español, por favor presione Raise Hand ahora o escriba en el chat en Zoom. O simplemente alza la mano si tiene la cámara encendida. Si se une a esta junta por teléfono, presione *9 para ser colocado en la sala de español. La sala de español tendrá las diapositivas en español.
So Connie already mentioned this in Cantonese, but if you would like interpretation in Cantonese, please use the raise hand or chat feature in Zoom, or raise your hand if you're on camera. The Cantonese breakout room will also have the slide deck in Chinese. We'll just wait a moment while those breakout room assignments are completed. For those of you that haven't had a chance to check out our website, we are recording and posting these workshops in English, Cantonese, and Spanish so that they can be referred to by others who aren't able to make it this evening. All right, shall we get started? Okay, before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge that the project area that we're discussing is located on the unceded ancestral land and shorelines homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. Further, we understand that polluting and disruptive city infrastructure, both including the train tracks and freeways most relevant to this study, as well as treatment plants and heavy industry, have disproportionately affected Black, Indigenous, and persons of color communities over the last century or more of development in our city. We encourage you to keep these things in mind during our presentation and as we move forward with planning. We're going to divide this English language group up one more time into one group which will go over the dog patch or potrero options, Mariposa, 22nd, and Cesar Chavez, and another group that will go over the new Bayview Station options, Evans, Oakdale, and Williams. Before we do that, though, we can cover some background on how we chose the alternatives. And for that, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Jesse Kaler, Rail Program Manager at SFCTA. You're on mute, Jesse.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Anna. Good evening, everyone. As we covered in round one, many changes are underway or planned for the Caltrain corridor in San Francisco, including the electrification of the railroad and 2 planned tunnel projects that will put the train underground from somewhere under Potrero Hill and extend train service into the Salesforce Transit Center in downtown San Francisco. One of these tunneling projects, the Pennsylvania Avenue Extension, or PAX, could require the redesign or relocation of the 22nd Street station. The city also seeks to restore regional rail access to the Bayview Hunters Point neighborhoods, focusing on a station concept at Oakdale Avenue previously discussed with the community, while also looking at potential alternatives at Evans and at Williams. Our meetings from round one were recorded in English, Spanish, and Cantonese, and you can watch them on our website at sfplanning.org/SERSS. To arrive at the 6 alternatives under discussion today, our project team, consisting of staff from San Francisco Planning Department, SFCTA, MTA, and Caltrain, along with a strong consultant team, reviewed our project limits and city and system-wide constraints. We knew we were considering stations between the existing 4th and King station in Soma and Bayshore Station in City of Brisbane. We also knew from Caltrain's station design guidelines that future train stations need to be accessible and have 1,000-foot platforms on a straight segment of track. Stations also should be at least a mile from the next nearest station. Some of the station concepts we have studied would be below grade in a tunnel, some at or near current street level, and some would be elevated depending on location. In the future, Caltrain will run more frequent electrified service. and we still have to think about how the addition of 1 or 2 new stations would affect the rest of the system, including the potential addition of overall trip time from the South Bay to San Francisco. Once we had this longer list, we started to apply criteria more specific to the local context. We are going to click through lots of information in the next number of slides. We would be happy to come back to any one of these maps during the question and answer section of today's meeting. Anna?
Thank you. So to start us off, we know that climate change will be a challenge going forward. Which station sites are vulnerable to rising seas? The pink line shows a worst case scenario for how far inland water could rise with storm surge by 2100. The options at Mariposa, Cesar Chavez, Evans, and Oakdale are in or close to the inundation zone in this worst case scenario. How do existing bus and light rail services and infrastructure connect to these potential station alternatives? We know that some services are easier to change than others. Bus routes can generally change and bicycle and pedestrian facilities can be added, but light rail cannot move as easily, and all changes have to compete for valuable resources. Meanwhile, it is not easy and sometimes not possible to change major natural or built barriers to mobility, such as hills, creeks, Interstate 280, or large industrial uses. These barriers affect how easy or difficult it is to access the different station options. We also need to consider racial and social equity. Which combination of stations equitably provides access for the most people to the most jobs? Which station options best address longstanding mobility inequities in Southeast San Francisco and connect financially isolated residents to opportunities up and down the peninsula? Note that the area around Cesar Chavez and Evans options is hatched in gray to protect the privacy of the small number of households in that zone. Once we layer on existing land uses, you can see that each station option serves a different mix of land uses. Residential, shown in yellow, prominently surrounds Mariposa, 22nd, Oakdale, and Williams, while light industrial, shown in purple, is more common around the Cesar Chavez and Evans options. This slide shows planned and approved developments that are under construction or expected in the future. At a high level, you can see high concentrations of housing planned around the Dogpatch Potrero options in the north, large commercial projects in the center of the map, and smaller residential and commercial projects in the Bayview neighborhood south of Oakdale and around Williams. These are some of the maps we've developed to inform our assessment of pros and cons for each alternative. In the next portion of the meeting, we can drill down further into individual sites and share some concept sketches of what various stations could look like. All right, so that's more background on how we arrived at these 6 alternatives and how we've evaluated constraints and opportunities for each. Let's split into 2 rooms to go over alternatives for 22nd Street in the Dogpatch and Potrero Hill areas and alternatives for a new Bayview station. There will be staff in each room presenting the material and available to take questions. If you would like to discuss the new Bayview station alternatives, please use the raise hand feature or chat feature in Zoom, or simply raise your hand if you're on camera right now. If you are interested in both sets of stations, and I understand that many of you are, pick one today and either join our Saturday workshop to discuss the second group, or you can watch a recording of the other group on the website. These recordings will be posted next week.